to cinema here. Today is the final day of Batman month. So that means tomorrow I can start actually talking about movies with no restrictions. But I want to do one last big video. But let me lay down some background info. Batman has had a lot of movies. There is a good deal of live action movies, but there's a lot more animated films. Plus, we also can't forget the black and white 1940s serial movies as well. However, I think we can all agree that some Batman movies are more important than others. So that's why I narrowed down this list to the 12 most important Batman films. Whether they're infamously bad or they're amazing, these are the 12 most important Batman films. So, let's get right down to it. Number 12, Batman and Robin. Like I said, there are going to be a couple things on this list that are infamously bad. Batman and Robin rounded up the Batman quadrilogy to start in 1989. And of course, we have George Clooney as Batman, directed by Joel Schumacher. This movie is bad. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad. But it's become legendary bad. It's become still an important part of the Batman history, I suppose, in a weird way. So, that's why it's on here. Number 11, Batman Forever. This also has a reputation of being infamously bad, but at least in some parts of this film, it's sort of trying. I mean, Val Kilmer is Batman, and Joel Schumacher is director, so of course it still can be, but not nearly as bad as Batman and Robin. And this is again part of the Batman quadrilogy that Warner Brothers had back in the late 80s and most of the 90s. So this is still an important part of the Batman movie history. Now let's move on to number 10, Batman the Killing Joke. The reason why this is important is because it's adapting one of the, if not the most famous Batman story of all time, The Killing Joke. And while the anime movie is mostly made up of the actual Killing Joke, they did add in some original material in order to get a limited theatrical release. But that's so jarringly bad, I'm not kidding you. But you can make the defense that the original material was added to the animated film The Killing Joke in order to get the audience to get more attached to Batgirl before leading up to that big moment from The Killing Joke. But it's still jarringly bad. And also the stuff that's actually adapting The Killing Joke, it's good, but it can be so much better. And that's why this is on this list, with Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker. This is still probably a movie that's still important to take note of. Number 9, the 1966 Batman film starring Adam West. The difference between the Adam West and the George Clooney film is that the Adam West film is supposed to be campy. It's faithful to the Batman comics that were being sold at that time. And some people still consider Adam as the Batman. I mean, there's a guy my age I know who only has ever seen the Adam West Batman version. So this is still a movie that you would probably should check out. Now let's get to number 8, which is the Lego Batman movie. I know it seems strange putting a kid's film on here, but it's hilarious, but also very clever. I mean, Will Arnett voicing Batman, and it's just a really clever parody / tribute homage to all the other different kinds of Batman. But of course, this is a kid's film, so a lot of the jokes in this film actually would not have been caught by the kids, mostly by the older people in the audience. But it's still a very enjoyable movie to watch. Alright, number 7, The Dark Knight Rises. Now, out of all three Christopher Nolan Batman films, this one probably has the most obvious flaws. Why would Batman waste time doing like a gasoline fire bat image on a bridge? Why is there a country whose prison is just a big hole in the ground? How the hell did he manage to heal from a broken back and get over to Gotham in time? How the hell did Bane manage to take control of an entire city for months? There's a lot of obvious flaws in this film, but still really entertaining to watch. And Tom Hardy as Bane is also great, and Hathaway, and of course Christian Bale as Batman, who a lot of people admire. So, it's an important part of the Batman history. Number 6, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Now, this film has direct ties and connections to the 1990s show Batman the Animated Series, with Kevin Conroy again as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker, plus a villain known as the Phantasm. Now, this film came out back when PG actually stood for parental guidance and not practically G. So there's a lot of good lessons and in this movie for kids to watch and actually get hold of. It's very well done. The atmosphere is perfect. It's a really interesting film to watch. Number 5. You're not going to like it. You're not going to like what I have down as number 5 on this list. You're really not. But I have to tell you. Number 5. The Dark Knight. Before you crucify me, before you kill me, hear me out. There was a point in my life where I held all 3 Christopher Nolan films as perfect. However, as I grow older and I look back on the film, it's probably not quite as perfect as I remember it. Now, I've already talked about how I think The Dark Knight is a little bit overrated, and you can check out that video. But there's definitely some flaws and moments where you just didn't really expect. And part of me did want to put this at number 1 based solely on Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. But I can't just make this film number 1 just because of a performance of the villain. I have to take into account everything. And unfortunately, it's at number 5. Now, number 4. You're not going to like this one either. Batman v Superman. Now, I've already talked about how my favorite Batman portrayal is Ben Affleck. And I'll be the first to admit that Batman v Superman has some big flaws. Who the hell let Jesse Eisenberg play Lex Luthor? Whose idea was that? But Ben Affleck gave the most complicated, the most complex, and the darkest and most intriguing portrayal of Batman we have ever seen. And those parts of the film are really wonderful. And that's why I put it on here on the list. And I know you're probably going to kill me for putting it above The Dark Knight. I don't care. Number 3, Batman Begins. Now, out of all 3 Christopher Nolan films, Batman Begins feels the most like a Batman film. The other 2 films pretty much just use the Batman mythos and history just to talk about like something else, like, technology, morality, that kind of stuff. But this feels the actual like a Batman story, not just use the means to talk about something else that's supposed to be real world related. We see Batman actually trained to become the vigilante and him going up against the League of Assassins. It's a very entertaining movie to watch. Number 2, Batman Returns. Now, I know some people probably turn away from this movie based on how dark it is and probably Dan DeVito's performance as the Penguin. But I think that's what makes this movie so great. It's an actually organic continuation of the story and characters from the previous film. And the atmosphere, I think, is really well done. And I just think it's a very intriguing film. But now let's get to number 1. The 1989 Batman film. Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Do I really need to go over why I think this movie is so great? I mean, just watch it. It's on Netflix. I mean, I feel like I've talked about this movie enough. Just go ahead and watch it. And that's all I have to say for Batman month. Now, for February, I can once again start picking movies with no restrictions to talk about. So, until next time, Dr. Cinema.